Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Friday evening, March 21, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, letting me know what the that's been like in your ear recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the US Climate Prediction Center's Global Tropics Hazards Outlook that came out on March 18, and it's highlighting what the weather will be like across the globe from the time period from March 26 to April 1, as well as from April 2 to April 8. And we're going to be focusing our attention on the Caribbean right here where we have Jamaica. And for the time period from March 26 to April 1, we can see some slight shades of greens that represent some low end of the scale in terms of the above normal precipitation probability. That's just a 50% chance, extending all the way from Jamaica into the Western Caribbean, all the way up into Cuba and the Bahamas, all the way up into maybe Eastern Bermuda. We also see that for the time period from April 2 to April 8, we have an abundance of above normal rainfall across sections of northern South America, sections of Panama, Costa Rica, all the way down into portions of Colombia, extending outward into the eastern to the central Pacific. Very interesting times ahead. It's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds, and we know that we have to take these forecasts from the US Climate Prediction Center with a grain of salt, because we know that they are not 100% accurate and they could be subject to change. On another note, we need to highlight what this post states. It is talking about the fact that we've just closed off winter and now we're now in spring. And we posted this not only on our Twitter page but our Instagram, TikTok and Facebook pages. And it stated that as of March 20, yesterday, spring started. It states here that spring marks the transition from winter to summer. Days become longer, the temperature warms, intense showers return, plants grow and flowers bloom. And we all know we have seasons because we have a tilting of the earth at an angle, and we know the angle at which the sun hits the earth that determines the season that we're having in general. And we've just reached the vernal equinox, March 21. Well, March 20 this year. So spring is definitely here in the northern hemisphere. No more winter. We're going to be wrapping up all of these snowstorms in the northern portions of the basin in general. Definitely heading into the warmer time period as we head into summer for sure. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours. And keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, oranges, yellows, and the greens that represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. Alright, so as we head into Saturday, so even before we start about talking about Saturday, we need to highlight the fact that we've been highlighting that from the time period from Wednesday to Friday it would have been hot and dry, and that was the case for most of the days. But we know the frontal system brought some cooler than average temperatures, and we've been feeling the cooler than average temperatures in the early morning hours. So it was the dry conditions that were predicted, which was why no videos were being posted. Many of you guys must have been wondering where the videos are. Usually when there's nothing in terms of rainfall expected across the island, just like for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's the case here over at Weather Jamaica. We don't post. It's sunny conditions, and that was predicted So we're back now to receiving some amount of showers. Look at the line of showers expected on Saturday morning, extending from the Leeward Islands to the south of Hispaniola to the south of Jamaica, all the way down into portions of Panama and Costa Rica. Some of it looking like it's going to be pushing towards Jamaica, but not really. However, on Saturday afternoon, we see some of the moisture coming into portions of Jamaica for sure. And it's not only the year that's showing that, but even the GFS right here. Even although the GFS still has most of the moisture to our south, we see that by the late part of the day on Saturday, some of the moisture starts to come in across sections of some central and western parishes. On Sunday morning, we see some moisture surrounding the island, some moisture extending into portion of Central America, moisture into Hispaniola, and then on Sunday afternoon, look at the moisture extending across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting. Sunday morning also shows moisture to the east of us, to the west of us on the GFS. Then on Sunday afternoon, we see that rainfall across central and western parishes, especially. Heading into Monday morning, what do we see? We see an abundance of moisture to the north of us, to the west of us. Then on Monday afternoon, we see that there is going to be some moisture across northern and western parishes. What does the year show for the same time period? Monday morning, north of us and west of us is where the moisture should be. And then by the end of the day on Monday, we see that rainfall across the northwestern end. Very interesting. Let's continue as we head into Tuesday morning. What do we see? We see some moisture to the south of us across eastern Jamaica too. Then by Tuesday afternoon, look at the moisture across eastern, central, and western parishes on the Euro. Let us see if we have the consensus on the GFS. Tuesday morning, not seeing much of anything on land. Maybe some dots of green to the east of us, to the northeast of us too. Then by the end of the day on Tuesday, look at the rainfall across northern, western, and eastern parishes. Very interesting forecast. Heading into Wednesday morning, what do we see? We see some moisture across eastern Jamaica, some moisture to the west of us as well. And then by Wednesday afternoon, we see that rainfall across maybe central and southwestern parishes. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Wednesday morning, nothing much across land on Jamaica. Wednesday afternoon, however, look at the rainfall, northern and western parishes. So we have some contrast, definitely compared to what the Euro was showing. Heading into Thursday morning, what do we see? Not much of anything across the island, but Thursday afternoon, definitely see some moisture across eastern, central, and western parishes on the Euro. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Some rainfall across the northeastern end, according to the GFS. Rainfall to the south of us too. On Thursday afternoon, we see rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting. Now we're going to be wrapping it up at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for 12Z on Friday, March 28th, which is actually 7 a.m. We look at the abundance of moisture across portions of Cuba, the southern Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, Hispaniola, eastern Jamaica. Let's see if the GFS is showing something similar. Alright, here we go. We see the moisture right here across eastern Jamaica. We see some of it across southern Jamaica. We also see the moisture that's expected across Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and the southern Bahamas too. It's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. If we also take a look at the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the year and the GFS, both showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Friday, March 28th, we can see all of the greens into the yellows, into the oranges, into the reds. That represents anywhere from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to an inch of rainfall. While we know the dark reds into the purples and the pinks represents 2 all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall. We can clearly see that the most rainfall with those dark reds, purples, pinks are clearly expected across sections of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica. Very interesting forecast in general. While it's going to be an inch to less than an inch of rainfall expected for areas such as western Venezuela, southern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Guadeloupe, Montserrat, Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, especially eastern and western Cuba, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Florida, the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua as well. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast, so the chances are higher for it to actually occur since both maps agree. And in terms of Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast maps for the next 7 days, we can clearly see that both maps from the Euro and the GFS that are showing here all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Friday, March 28th. You can clearly see the blues into the greens that represents anywhere from a millimeter of rainfall all the way up to 25 millimeters of rainfall, and the yellows that represents all the way up to even 30, maybe even 40 millimeters of rainfall for the northeastern end, maybe Portland, as well as the western end, maybe southeastern Hanover, northeastern Westmoreland, and southwestern St. James. Going to be interesting to see how it plays out. We see the GFS kind of agreeing with what the Euro was showing for the northeastern end, Portland with all of the greens, and even section of the western end, but it's more so in the greens. That represents up to 20 millimeters rather than the 30 to 40 in the yellow. We'll see it actually plays out, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here, another ridge of high pressure right here, and we know they are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can see a trough right here to the south of Haiti extending down to portions of northern Colombia, and we see the blue spike line right here extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into the Bahamas, Cuba, and the western Caribbean, maybe the Cayman Islands, getting on some of the action later on. That's associated with a cold front, another cold front right here to the east of Bermuda. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can make out all of these entities. First of all, we can see the low to mid-level clouds being steered from east to west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. We can see the clouds associated with the trough to the south of Haiti as we speak. We can see the clouds associated with that frontal system to the east of Bermuda. And we can see the other frontal system extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into the Bahamas, Cuba, and the western Caribbean. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean a little later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in the video that was posted lastly on Tuesday, March 18. We highlighted that yes, there would have been a frontal system. We also highlighted that the Hurricane Center highlighted something, but we know that was not going to develop at all. And if you remember, in this video we highlighted that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would have been hot and dry, which explains why there was a lack of videos being posted this week, because boy, all across the island was sunny, hot and dry during the day, but we know we were getting in on some cooler than average temperatures, especially in the early morning hours, and we're indeed grateful for that because of the cold fronts that we're passing through. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight today, look at where we had the cloud cover today. Well, clearly we can see that most if not all parishes were sunny, just some partly cloudy skies across sections of Manchester, sections of Portland, as usual. Portland always getting the clouds, maybe some isolated showers up in the hills, but that's basically it. Even the infrared close-up satellite images confirming nothing in the way of convection, no blues, greens, yellows, oranges, reds, blacks, grays, purples that represents deep convection at all. Nothing of the sort taking place. Even the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, backtracking at about 1:44 p.m. You can see people in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place over here today. And we can see the rear Cobra definitely chilling, not in spate at all given the very dry conditions that we have been receiving. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, and they also have Halfway Tree in St. Andrew, Crossroads, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint quite the picture of where we had the rainfall today, and clearly there wasn't any. Look at all the whites that represent the low end of the scale in terms of rainfall. Nothing took place, and that was the case for Thursday as well as Wednesday. And if we take a look at what's happening right now, let's reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website, and we see the very latest still image is showing 0035 UTC, which is actually 7:35 p.m. So this just came out 5:10 about 13 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:48 p.m. right now. You can see that there's nothing to see here. Definitely fair conditions all across the island. Even the Cuban Doppler radar image are not showing much of anything. Glitched out, but it showed the latest image, which is as of 8:14 p.m., which is actually 7:14 p.m. And there was nothing to see here. Neither is the Guantanamo Bay Cuban naval radar images showing anything across eastern Cuba, northeastern Jamaica, western Haiti, and even the Cayman radar not showing much of anything across southern Cuba, western Jamaica, or the Cayman Islands. Definitely dry conditions these days for sure. And if we take a look at the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing crossroads in St. Andrew, we can see people walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business. Definitely dry and fair weather expected tonight for sure in the corporate area. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Saturday, temperature should dip down to about 22 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 21 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Saturday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight yellow colors, and that we can see from the key on the right represents up to 1 degree Celsius above normal temperatures. I know the normal temperature for the month of March across the island of Jamaica is around 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius, that's around 30.7 degrees Celsius. So you should be receiving anywhere from 30.7 to 31.7 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on a Saturday. And we have at least one maintenance outage advisor here from my JPS Online's Twitter page to highlight. I know that we have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages, it can definitely be exacerbated by the heat because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So the one maintenance outage that's going to be taking place is going to be in Nuts River, on Nuts River Road in the parish of St. Thomas, and that will be from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, when outside, seek shade. Eat fresh, try eating cold foods such as salads and fruits. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, oranges, reds, and whites within those reds. We can see the driest air right here off the coast of the US, as well as off the coast of Western Africa, while we have the moist air in the blues across the intertropical convergence zone, the Eastern Pacific, as well as wherever we have the yellows. Wherever we have the yellows, that's the low end of the scale in terms of dry air, and we see some moist, slightly moist air across portions of the northeastern Caribbean, extending down to Puerto Rico and the waters to the south of Hispaniola. It all makes sense because if we look back at the, let's say, the visible, we can see the outline of the frontal system that passed through a couple of days ago, as well as leftover trough. So it all makes sense that the air is definitely moist. But we know the dry air is responsible for putting a lid on the Atlantic, making it harder for it to rain. And we have a lot of dry air, which makes sense that we don't even have storms or anything developing this time of year. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 18 UTC, which is actually 1 p.m. on Saturday, we are seeing some browns that represent the Saharan dust extending from the eastern main development region across the southern main development region into portion of northern South America, some of it coming into portion of the central Caribbean near Jamaica too. But it's on the low end of the scale in terms of Saharan dust. So it's just a 4, so it's definitely on the low end of the scale, but it's Saharan dust nonetheless, and Saharan dust is going to do what Saharan dust does. Definitely tries to make the sky hazy or trigger some respiratory illnesses, asthma, sinusitis in some persons. But we're indeed grateful that it's not much of anything, it's just the low end of the scale. We're glad that we're not seeing those dark browns like what we see across Africa, across the Caribbean. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we're seeing the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues extending from the Gulf into the northwestern and Caribbean and Greater Antilles. We're also seeing the purples into the pinks across the central to the southern Caribbean right here. That represents anywhere from 2 to 3 meter wave heights, while the light shades of blues to the dark shades of blues representing anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height to 1.5 meter wave height. And if we take a look at Jamaica's north coast tomorrow, waves should be going up to 1.2 meter wave height, 1.4 meter wave heights on the south coast. And all of this makes sense because of what the winds are going to be like. Look, the winds across the Gulf coming in from the northeast, curving westward and then curving towards the northwest. Some more of a southeasterly flow going into Texas and northern Mexico over there. And the winds are not going to be that strong. We see the greens presenting 11 knots, maybe up to, what's this? Alright, doesn't want to show me, but if we look at the waters to the south of Haiti and Jamaica, it makes sense that the waves are going to be high down there, because winds are going to be up to 26 knots, definitely high for sure, coming in from the east. And if we take a closer look at Jamaica's wind forecast, wind should be coming in from the east-northeast or from the northeast on the north coast tomorrow, averaging up to 14 knots, south coast 18 knots, and we see where the air is going to be piling up. Wherever we have the least amount of winds, that's where the air could pile up, bringing us some amount of isolated afternoon rainfall for sure, maybe across sections of some central and western parishes. And with the upper level winds coming in from the west, if we get some convection, those high cold cloud tops will be sheared off towards the east. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, both maps here from the Euro and the GFS are showing 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time on Saturday. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS maps have some blues that represent rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes on the Euro. GFS is more confined to central and western Jamaica. You also see some rainfall to the southeast of us. It's going to be interesting to see how it actually unfolds. But the forecast is going to be for rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes on Saturday afternoon. So please ensure that you try to get that laundry done early. Even although the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps showing the rainfall from now up until 10 p.m. on Saturday, not showing much of anything in terms of decent rainfall total. Only the slight greens represents up to 0.07 of an inch of rainfall, 0.05 of an inch of rainfall on the GFS. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, we'll take it, because we're in the month of March, and in March it is the driest month of the year across Jamaica. In Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we usually receive up to 10 millimeters of rainfall for the month of March. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 2.2 inches of rainfall for the month of March. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives for the month of March or for the entire year in terms of rainfall, you can visit weatherandclimate.com and that website to show that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. Alright, so as stated, we have the clouds associated with the cold front coming in through the Bahamas, Cuba as we speak, the Western Caribbean. Clouds associated with the trough passing to the south of Jamaica and Haiti as we speak. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar imagery of the northeastern Caribbean, let's see what's happening over there. Some rain bands to the north of Puerto Rico, that's basically it. And if we load these images from earlier today, we can see some rainfall that was taking place across western Puerto Rico, the waters to the north of Antigua and Barbuda. Taking a look at the Barbados radar, just some sprinkles passing through, some rainfall passing through portions of southern St. Vincent, some rainfall to the east of Grenada. Taking a look at the weather wave Doppler radar images, we can see some rainfall passing through Suriname, Guyana, eastern Venezuela, northwestern Venezuela, Colombia too. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, we can see the moisture all associated with the frontal system and the trough that has induced, extending from the Leeward Islands into Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti. The waters to the south of Jamaica, extending down to portion of Central America. We're talking about Guatemala, Honduras, section of Nicaragua, southeastern portions. Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, clearly going to be getting the brunt of tomorrow's rainfall. We also see some rainfall expected for western Venezuela, southern Venezuela, section of Guyana, section of Suriname, and French Guyana too. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. And that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.